I'm a sound engineer who thought the scariest thing I could record was the silence of a graveyard. I was wrong. The most terrifying sound isn't silence. It's the wet, guttural choking of a ghost, reliving her murder. And she wanted me to hear it up close. For 20 years, I've shaped sound for a living, but starting my own YouTube channel was a leap I was too scared to take. It was my girlfriend, Sarah, who finally pushed me. Do ASMR, she said, but not the whispery stuff. Record the real world. Make the sounds of the city feel cozy. Her belief was the spark I needed. The channel found its rhythm. After 3 months of grinding, I had a few thousand subscribers hooked on the ambient hum of urban life. But for Halloween, I needed something raw, something that would crawl under my viewers' skin. That's what led me to the old Willow Cemetery at 2 a.m., my high-end recorder in hand. This place was a time capsule from the 1800s, a labyrinth of crumbling headstones and skeletal oaks, perfect for capturing an unforgettably eerie soundscape. For 20 minutes, I drank in the stillness, my mic capturing the symphony of crumbling leaves and distant crickets. The peace was shattered when I saw her, a woman 50 yards away, perfectly still in the bone-white moonlight, her hands gripping a granite headstone like a lifeline. My first thought was a mourner lost in grief, but then the details clicked into place, and a cold dread washed over me. Her dress was tattered and filthy, caked with grime and dark, ominous stains that looked too much like dried blood. Her hair was a wild nest, her face a canvas of bruises. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I called out, my voice cutting through the quiet. She gave no response. I wrote her off as a homeless person, high or mentally ill, and decided to keep my distance but continue recording. As I edged closer, the horror unfolded. Her shoulders weren't just shaking, they were convulsing. Thick ropes of saliva stringed from her lips, glistening in the moonlight as they hit the earth. Then the gasping started, a wet, desperate sound like a drowning victim. "Ma'am, I can call for help," I stammered. Before I could finish, she vomited. It wasn't food. In the stark moonlight, it was a torrent of thick, blackish blood that splattered against the headstone and pooled at her feet. Then, as if her very tears were turning to rust, blood began to stream from her eyes, carving crimson paths down her ghastly pale cheeks. I was frozen, just a few feet away, when her head snapped toward me with a sickening crack-pop of breaking bone. Her eyes were voids, ancient and utterly inhuman. A scream ripped from my throat as I spun to flee, but she moved with an impossible jerking speed. In a heartbeat, her hand was on my shoulder, her grip like iron. She spun me around to face her. She tried to speak, but her words were drowned by a gush of clotted blood and tissue, warm and reeking of rot and metal, spraying across my face and jacket. I screamed, tearing my arm free and leaving shreds of skin in her grasp. Her other hand shot out, encircling my throat, lifting me until my toes scraped the ground. My vision tunneled, my kicks growing weaker. With a final guttural sound like a dying engine, she hurled me through the air like a rag doll. I crashed onto the damp grass, the wind knocked out of me. I didn't think. I didn't scream. I just ran. I crashed through bushes, stumbled over graves, and didn't stop until I was locked in my car, my entire body trembling. Back home, a panicked Sarah listened to my hysterical story. She was pale but skeptical. "We have to go back in the morning," she insisted, "if someone was really hurt." I dreaded it, but she was right. The next day at 10 a.m., the cemetery was just a cemetery. The headstone was there, but no blood, no signs of a struggle. The inscription read, Margaret Holloway, 1962 to 1995, beloved wife. An old groundskeeper confirmed our worst fears when Sarah asked. Oh, Maggie, he said, leaning on his rake. Poor soul. Her husband poisoned her back in 95, fed her bleach in her food for weeks, died a horrible death, vomiting blood as her organs shut down. He looked at us, his eyes knowing. Folks say her spirit is stuck here, reliving it all. Of course, nobody believes in that nonsense anymore. The drive home was silent. I checked my recorder later. 23 minutes of ambiance, followed by 7 minutes of pure, unedited horror, guttural choking, wet gasps, and the sound of my own terror. I deleted the file immediately. What would I tell the police? That a ghost assaulted me? I still make ASMR, but I stay far away from haunted places. Some sounds are not meant to be captured. Sometimes I wonder if Margaret was trying to communicate, or was just eternally lost in her suffering. I never want to see her again, but I pray, for her sake, that her soul finds peace. My sister's ASMR channel made her a millionaire internet sensation. Our parents were so proud, they gave her everything she wanted. They never asked what she was feeding her growing audience, or what her audience was feeding her in return. The night I found her in the basement, I learned the horrifying truth. I'm 15. My sister Leela is 18 and an ASMR superstar. She started with whispers and tapping, and by the time she hit 1 million subscribers, she was making enough to help pay our parents' mortgage. They treated her like a celebrity, which is why they didn't blink when she demanded a private studio in the basement and stopped eating family meals. 6 months ago, her content shifted. She brought home a fluffy Siberian cat and some albino rats for aesthetics. She'd stay locked in the studio for days. When we asked what she was doing, she'd get a distant, glassy look and say, I'm developing content for a more dedicated audience. Her subscriber count exploded to 3 million. But the sounds changed. The gentle chewing was replaced by wet, aggressive tearing. I started hearing faint, high-pitched whimpers underneath her whispers. It made my skin crawl. The nightmare began when our parents were away for the weekend. A storm raged outside, and around midnight, the new sound started again. Desperate whimpers, slurping, and Leela's soft, cooing giggles. Shh, little one. Just a second longer. I crept down to the basement. The door was ajar, light bleeding out. What I saw inside is burned into my mind forever. Leela was kneeling in a pool of blood, a butcher's knife in her hand. Her arms and shirt were soaked. Strands of fur and bits of flesh clung to her fingers. The camera was rolling, the ring light illuminating the mutilated corpse of her Siberian cat. A string of raw meat dangled from her mouth as she chewed slowly, amplifying every sickening squelch and crunch for her viewers. Leela, I gasped. She flinched, then turned her blood-smeared face toward me. Jeremy, she slurred, still chewing. Come, taste heaven. What? No. I staggered back. Don't be afraid, she crooned, crawling toward me. Blood dripped from her chin. See how many views I get. We'll be rich. In her hand, she held a piece of the cat's flesh. They've taught me so much about angles and flavors and slicing. Who? I cried. The audience, she whispered, as if it were obvious. Here, this one's fresh. You'll love it. She held out a single, glistening eyeball. Every few seconds she'd let out a childish giggle. Don't be shy. Eat. Terror told me to play along to survive. I sat beside her, my body vibrating with disgust. I took the eyeball, The slick, cold feel of it made me vomit violently onto the floor. Leela laughed, clapping her bloody hands. "You're such a softy. Here, try this." She offered a chunk of muscle. I couldn't do it. I bolted for the living room, but she was on me in a flash, her grip shockingly strong. "Get off. You're sick. You've lost your mind." I screamed, thrashing. My panic only amused her. "You used to believe in me. This is the only thing that's ever made me feel seen. I'm not crazy. I'm finally alive." I sank my teeth into her hand until I tasted blood. She howled and I tore free, sprinting for the kitchen. I barricaded us with a chair, giving me just enough time to race into our parents' bedroom. I fumbled for the lock, but she kicked the door with monstrous force. It smashed into me, and we tumbled to the floor. She landed on top of me, her breath a foul, hot gust. Her eyes were utterly wild. The butcher's knife was still in her hand. "We could have had better footage," she muttered, pressing the cold blade against my cheek. "You've ruined it." I tried to scream, but terror had stolen my voice. I was paralyzed, watching as she raised the knife for the final blow. Suddenly, headlights cut through the window. Tires crunched on the driveway. "Girls, we're home early," my mom's voice called out. In that split second of distraction, I shoved Leela off with all my strength and scrambled back, gasping for air. She didn't get up. She just sat there, the knife in her hand, a statue of pure madness. When my parents saw the horror in the basement, their world shattered. Leela is in a mental institution now. The last time I visited, she was whispering to the walls. I don't recognize my sister anymore. Her obsession to be seen didn't just ruin her, it devoured our entire family. I thought tagging my location in my ASMR videos was a fun way to connect with my audience. I never imagined it was a GPS pin for a psychopath. He told me he drove 6 hours to meet me, and he wasn't leaving without a starring role in my final video. The day started with promise. I'd driven 5 hours deep into the mountain wilderness to a pristine clearing I'd scouted online. It was an ASMR dream. Tall pines, crisp air, and the cozy crackle of my campfire. Perfect for the outdoor cooking video my subscribers were begging for. Golden hour footage was in the can. The chopping was crisp. The meat sizzled perfectly. I was mentally writing my success story. Then the sun vanished, and the coyotes began. Their howls didn't echo randomly. They formed a tightening circle around my camp. My instincts screamed, "This isn't normal. This is a hunt." I ducked into my tent for the final eating segment. The mesh windows my only view of the encroaching dark. I lifted the first piece of steak to the camera, put on a smile, and then my blood turned to ice. A pair of wide, unblinking blue eyes was staring at me from the other side of the mesh. A man had been standing there in the silence, watching me for God knows how long. I couldn't see his whole face, but I could see the stretched, ecstatic smile plastered across it. I screamed, scrambling backward. When I dared to look again, he was gone. Shaking, I burst out of the tent and dove into my van, slamming the door lock. For a few minutes there was only silence. I almost convinced myself it was a hallucination. Then, the passenger door handle rattled violently. "Evening, beautiful," a cheerful masculine voice cooed from the darkness. The tone was so wrong, it made my stomach lurch. "I've loved your ASMRs, the aesthetics. Sublime. Your location tags are literal lifesavers." "Who are you?" I stammered. "A loyal follower," he murmured, his voice now right beside my window. "I drove 6 hours for you. The least you can do is come out. Maybe we can film a video together." I brought my own camera. Get away from me, I yelled, turning the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, and died. He tapped on the glass. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I messed with your engine. Hope you don't mind. Are you insane? He pressed his face against the window, his smile grotesquely distorted by the glass. You're even prettier up close. I couldn't waste this chance. Terror was consuming me, but I fought back. You think I haven't dealt with creeps like you? Stick around and the cops can scrape you off the road. He went silent for a moment. Then I heard a thud as he climbed onto the roof. The van rocked under his weight. He started jumping, screaming like a wild animal. Come out! Come out! Then the sky opened up. Rain hammered the van, turning the world into a blur. Through the streaming windows, I saw him jump down, shirtless now, his pale skin gleaming. He started licking my window, his tongue impossibly long and slimy. I tried the ignition again. Nothing. As I frantically dialed 911, I saw him in the side mirror, hefting a rock the size of a bowling ball. He moved to the back of the van, toward the rear window. This was it. My eyes darted around. The heavy rain had made the ground a slick mudslide, and my van was parked on an incline. My hand shot to the parking brake. Smash! The rock exploded through the rear window. Glass shards flew as his arm snaked through the jagged hole, fingers grasping for me. I yanked the parking brake release. The van lurched forward, rolling down the slope. A blood-curdling scream tore through the night as the momentum wrenched his arm back through the broken glass. My arm, you bitch! I pumped the brakes, swerving wildly between trees, the van sliding uncontrollably downhill. In my mirror, I saw him chasing after me, one arm hanging limp, blood pouring from the wounds. The van hit level ground and I slammed the ignition. This time, the engine roared to life. I floored the accelerator and never looked back. The police caught him 3 days later. His name was Daryl Rothborn, a predator who specifically targeted women who posted their locations online. He got life in prison. I quit YouTube and erased my entire online presence. But I still wake up drenched in sweat, knowing with absolute certainty that there are more like him out there, watching, waiting for a single careless tag.